Where I come from, streets is made of gold. Trapping like the new me, boom bap like the old me. On my back like Yoshi, yeah. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Can't beat them, join them. One life, enjoy it. Live like you royal, hell with purpose, let's destroy it. You think I'm joking? It's every word that's spoken. And rap these days is trapping crazy, can get away with anything with 808s. They spell and pray and swell your brain, you fade away, your soul decay. They dig and graze, I'm A-okay. Just fast and pray, there'll come a day, a price to pay like Sally May, you in debt. So cast away your regrets, I digress. They regress, they treat girls like objects. They play around like recess, this rap game is nonsense. They big mad cause we bless, a goon to a goblin. You offset, I onset, I'm onset with wine in my goblet. You whining for God, I just pulled out the projects assigned to these haters. I feed off your comments, shake greed off my palms and take knees like I'm Colin. Take heat or just rot and just bleed while you falling in. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Sitting waiting, sinning lately, getting lazy, lighting up, you getting hazy. Kinda light just doesn't faze me, hating things that rap portraying. Ricky Bobby shaking bacon, Ricky
what up,
Bobby
Beaches?
shaking, me and Evil
welcome
just
to
hung
the
up on
game
the plug.
train.
Look at me like, why you bugging? Now they all like, what the
welcome.
what? Look at them like, why you thugging? Want my soul, want my gifts, want my heart for fame and money. Gotta admit, I almost did it, turn around and started running. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Where I come from, streets is made of gold. Trapping like the new me, boom bap like the old me. On my back like Yoshi, yeah. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Can't beat them, join them. One life, enjoy it. Live like you royal, hell with purpose, let's destroy it. You think I'm joking? It's every word that's spoken. And rap these days is trapping crazy, can get away with anything with 808s. They spell and pray and swell your brain, you fade away, your soul decay. They dig and graze, I'm A-okay. Just fast and pray, there'll come a day, a price to pay like Sally May, you in debt. So cast away your regrets, I digress. They regress, they treat girls like objects. They play around like recess, this rap game is nonsense. They big mad cause we bless, a goon to a goblin. You offset, I onset, I'm onset with wine in my goblet. You whining for God, I just pulled out the projects assigned to these haters. I feed off your comments, shake greed off my palms and take knees like I'm Colin. Take heat or just rot and just bleed while you falling in. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Bag y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Sitting waiting, Hating, sinning lately, getting lazy, lighting up, you getting hazy. Kinda light just doesn't faze me. Hating things that rap portraying. Ricky Bobby shaking bacon, Ricky Bobby shaking. Me and Evo breaking up. I just hung up on the plug. Look at me like why you bugging? Now they all like what the what? Look at them like why you thugging? Want my soul, want my gifts, want my heart for fame and money. Gotta admit I almost did it. Turn around and started running. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me. They wanna own me, but now they owe me. Back y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Back y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Where I come from, streets is made of gold. Trapping like the new me, move back like the old me. On my back like Yoshi, yeah. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me, they wanna own me, but now they owe me. Back y'all like groceries, wrap on my back like I am Yoshi. Trapping like new me, boom bap like old me. Too bad they know me.
Bullshit.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Very nice. Testing. Very, very nice. Testing, testing, testing. Very nice nipples. Very nice nips. Testing, testing, testing. Testicles. Testing, testicles. Testicles. Welcome, everyone, to episode 1031 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, bearcast, broadcast, gamecast, mancast, pimpcast, sleazecast, and slaycast in the realm, because we're not flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. What is going on, Bisha? Thanks for joining me live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. Of course, all those that you heard at the ladder with the sweet fucking audio right here. But those of you that are joining me phone to phone on Instagram, welcome as well. Remember, you can always go over on Apple Podcasts. You can go on Spotify. You can check out all the podcast links over at swolenormousx.com. Click on podcast in the main menu. You can find out all the information on where to subscribe and listen to the gains. Welcome to Daddy's place. Welcome to Daddy's house for Sunday Funday Q&Anus. So we're just going to jump right in because we don't got much time. We got a lot of questions and we got a lot of Daily Swole Club questions to go through. So I will try to get through those as many as possible. And I'll take a few select ones from those of you that posted up on Facebook and Instagram. And we will do the best that we can with the time in which we have. What is up here? Let's see. Hairy Nipples, very good on Instagram. Knowledge Gains, welcome Dylan, Holly, Nathan, Joan, Mark, what up? Let's see who else we got here. David, Joanne, Tabitha, hello. David, again, another David, maybe two Davids? Two Davids, one David. Robert, Dave, Joe, Meredith, what up? What's going on? Let's see what's going on Instagram. How the fuck do you get gains in the beard? You don't shave and you eat really healthy and you have good genetics. So those of you that can't grow beards, I'm sorry. There's no magical beard growth, but usually what people don't do when it comes to actual health, well, actually, people don't do fucking jack shit when it comes to actual health, but don't forget that if you're not eating right, you're not going to grow quality fucking facial hair. If you're eating garbage, where do you think your skin... A lot of people try to put topical stuff, right? They want to put makeup on. They want to improve their skin. Oh, I have acne. I have this. I have that. Where do you think you're getting that from? It's not coming from the outside. Scrubbing your face isn't going to make it better. You have to eat better from the inside. So most of your skin conditions and shit is coming because you're eating garbage food. You're not sleeping well, all those things. So same thing goes with beard hair, and hair quality. So let's just jump right into it. So for those of you, before we actually jump right into it, those of you that are new to the podcast, every Sunday we do a Sunday Funday Q&Anus, and I post every Saturday a picture. You try to drop your comments as quick as possible, because first come, first serve in the Q&A. I'll try to answer some questions live if they come up and they're contextual. If I catch if they catch my eye, I'll do the best that I can. But priority goes to the Daily Swole Club members. So if you want to learn more about the Daily Swole Club, that's different than Swolenormous X memberships. Daily Swole Club peeps are those of you that support the podcast and the YouTube content and the Instagram content. It's kind of like a Patreon. It's essentially pretty much literally a Patreon. You get a couple perks. You get some notifications before I go live. You get first in line for Q&A. You get some special gear that's launching soon. So thank you so much to all those that are members of the Daily Swole Club. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast, supporting the content, and also for submitting your questions, because we got some good questions coming. So the first one, Daily Swole Club member Aaron. Let's see here. Hey, dude, what would you suggest? How would you suggest I tackle clients that need to eat more that don't want to? I have a few clients that wanting fat loss, and after calculating BMR, etc., they only eat 20 to 25% of that, and it's hard to, you mean 70 to 75%? Or 80 to 75%, and it's hard to convince them that they need to eat more. Any suggestions? If they want, hold on a second, they want fat loss, and after calculating, it's hard to convince them. Oh, so you, all right. So whatever you said, you want them to eat more. It's hard to convince them. Any suggestions? Aside from telling them, I'm telling you what to fucking do. If they want results, they'll do what you say. That's really how it should work. If you're training them, they need to do what you fucking say. More often than not, when I get these questions, it's like, you need to get some new fucking clients. You need to have get people that are really fucking serious about getting results. If you're telling them that they need to eat more or less or whatever you're telling them, if they're paying you for results and they're paying you, it's on you. And you cannot take blame if they're not doing or executing what you're telling them to do. So in terms of suggestions, if they're only going to eat a percentage, you could tell them to eat more than that, and then they'll eat a percentage of that, and they'll end up eating what they should be eating. But you don't want them actually overeating or whatever you're telling them to do, because I'm a little bit confused by your percentages in your question here. But any suggestions, they need to do what you say. You need to be very transparent and very straightforward. If they're not eating enough or they're eating too much or whatever it is, they're not going to get the results that they want. And unfortunately, they're the ones that are going to hold you responsible. I didn't get the results. That didn't work out. I'm not paying you anymore. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you make that fucking clear, that if they're not doing what you tell them, aside from that, it's like, you can't force people to eat or not eat. You can't convince them. You really can't. They're not under your control. It's weird. That's fucking weird. That's fucking weird. Get new clients. No, I'm just kidding. Elizabeth, Daily Swole Club member. I did an elimination diet years ago to help with a medical condition. In your opinion, would it be worth it to do another with weight loss as my goal? I've been in remission for almost 10 years now. I'm assuming remission means cancer or something of that sort. But yes, an elimination, as long as you're medically cleared and there's no issues or contraindications, an elimination diet is not something that you do one-off. It's something that you can do dynamically. It's something you can do repeatedly. I wouldn't necessarily say do it every month, for example. You don't need, that's just doesn't make sense. But anytime you have an issue, it's going to come in the future. Like, so if you do an elimination, you find out some major food groups or things that you should not be having. As you go forward in your career, in your life, as things come up and as you're more aware, because once you go through an elimination process, you are going to, as you go through the elimination, you're going to learn more about your body. And those of you that have done an elimination before, put it in the comments right now. If you've done an elimination diet, and a lot of people ask me nutrition questions, so everyone that's been saying, do more content on nutrition, which I do all the time, this is your question. This is your time to pay attention. For those of you that have done elimination, drop in the comments right now, how much more connected are you with your body after you do an elimination? And I'll answer for you in the meantime for the delay between my question and you typing it in. It's going to be big time. Once you do an elimination, one of the reasons for an elimination is not to lose weight. Okay, don't get it twisted. When you do an elimination, it's to learn to connect more with your body. It's to learn what your body is telling you. It's to learn what signals to pay attention to. And that's what most people lack. You just assume, hey, I go to the supermarket, anything goes in my face hole. Anything that's there can go in. And that's not how it works. Not everything should be consumed. If you're not paying attention, you don't know what's working. You don't know what your body reacts well to. You don't know what it's rejecting. That's why an elimination diet is important, because once you get rid of all that fucking fluff and garbage, you realize, okay, when I eat this, this happens. When I eat X, Y happens. When I eat A, B happens. If you do an elimination, you are connecting more with your body and you're observing better. And most people don't know how to observe what's going on, because fundamentally they don't understand that what you eat is everything. What you eat is going to reflect in your feelings, in your performance, in your weight gain, weight loss, mental state, everything. Everything. I don't know how to tell what does what to my body. I need to be more in tune. Yeah, you need to do an elimination. That's exactly the point. 99.9% of people don't know how to pay attention because you don't know what foods do. When you eliminate all this crap and then you consume it again, once you test your foods in the elimination process, you realize, holy shit, this food gives me violent diarrhea. You start paying attention to things because you resensitize your body. That's why it's so important. That's why just following someone's random fucking diet plan is the worst thing you can do, which is why most people don't get results with these cookie cutter bullshit programs that you'll find from fitness, quote, professionals. And that's the problem with the industry, which is why I fucking hate it. All right, next question. All right, that got out of hand fast, huh? All right, next question. Daily Swole Club, Dakota. I have started to feel a sharp pain near my elbow joint, more so the tendons around there. When I do close grip push-ups, downward dog, etc. Don't know what it is. Any thoughts? Well, first off, when you say pain, I got to recommend you go check it out medically with a professional. So any kind of sharp pain, who knows? I couldn't tell you at all what the heck that is. It's only just random fucking guessing. But chances are, whenever you have some kind of discomfort when it's a certain position, one, not every position is good for everyone, but chances are there's a muscular imbalance there. Chances are you don't know until you get it checked out. Not saying go get an MRI, but no one knows until you actually really get a professional going in there and helping to figure out exactly what it is based on what movement. So that's just a general comment right there that I'm just kind of guessing on through the internet. But always those things like the TheraBar and strengthening your extensors are really important. So there's a lot of things that can happen because of overuse. We're texting all the time. We're driving. We're always doing it over and over again, repetitive movement injuries. So that really does affect all the muscles and the joints and the tendons that cross the elbow joint. So when you have imbalances, it usually reflects as pain eventually or some kind of rubbing or inflammation. So I would recommend doing some balancing movements, not movements, but exercises, doing some correctives for your elbow, doing some correctives in that area. And again, I've mentioned the TheraBar several times on the podcast, and also doing some, eccentric extensor work can very much so help. So you can Google TheraBar. You can get those on Amazon cheap. Could help. Don't know. And also those webs and those gel finger extensors, forearm extensor strengthenings. Hey, Seuss, Daily Swole Club. Are natural testosterone supplements helpful or just a waste of money? I'm going to save you the time and the money. Yeah, waste of money. Do not go sucking those down. You don't know what the hell they're doing to your body. It's not worth it. Next, Sean from Daily Swole Club. Does working a specific muscle group burn more fat in that area or more just all over fat burn? Like, does working chest burn more of the fat that's on your chest? Good question, common question. I wish it was that easy. That's definitely not something that actually exists. Spot reduction of fat would be nice, but that's only done by liposuction or someone actually going in with a fucking straw and sucking it out in that area, which I don't recommend either. So yeah, you can't spot reduce fat. Unfortunately, that would make things a lot easier, wouldn't it? Next, Sunday Funday Q&Anus. Let's see. Daily Swole Club, Scott. Can't think of anything to ask, but wanted you to know that this is on my radar and I appreciate everything you do. 5 weeks into the elimination diet and down 20.3 pounds and still not able to go all out directly to the bicep tendon repair. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, now I see. So you're 5 weeks into the elimination diet, you're down 20.3 pounds, even though you're still not able to go all out with your training because you have that bicep injury. Thanks for everything, Dash. You're welcome, Scott. Awesome. It just goes to show that when you focus on your nutrition, that's a huge part of the equation. It's not 80%, 20%. It's not 90, 10, 70, 30. It's 100, 100. Nutrition is going to be massively important and pretty much essential and the game changer for everyone. And so is training. It goes together. You shouldn't be lazy and you shouldn't be eating crap. And that's makes it 100% both. So everyone's going to see different changes. Everyone's going to see different progress. Everyone's going to see different, initial results from the elimination. And it's part of the process. And you can't measure your progress based on someone else's because something that bothers your friend might not bother you. And someone else might lose 20 pounds in 5 weeks and you might lose 10. You might lose 2. But the elimination diet is not a weight loss diet. The design is not to lose weight. oftentimes that will happen because you're eating things that are causing water retention, fat storage, and so forth. But it's not a weight loss approach. It's to figure out which foods make you feel amazing and treat your body well, and which foods fuck your body up. Usually that's correlated with water retention and weight loss and joint pain, this, that, and the other, but it's not necessarily a weight loss diet. So just because you do an elimination, don't go in there expecting, hey, I'm going to lose weight. It's not designed to lose weight. That's usually an effect, but it's more of a side effect or a side benefit rather than the primary. Welcome, first timers. Any first timers to the Swole? We do this every Sunday, by the way, so you got a lot to look through. This is good shit. This is good shit, fam. Good questions. All right. Next with the Daily Swole Club, David. So my weight is 265. I'm in the gym 5 days a week. Fairly strong bench, 315 squats, the same. Have a total knee replaced. Trying to drop weight. Love to get to 200, 210. That's not a question. That's a statement. So let me try to turn this into a question to maybe help you out there. You're 265. You're in the gym 5 days a week. You have a total knee replacement. Don't worry so much about your strength. Focus on your nutrition. Focus on that elimination. Focus on yoga, mobility. Especially if you have a knee replacement, for whatever the reason that is, you need to make sure your glutes are activated. You need to make sure that you have proper range of motion and you're balancing out each side of your body so you don't end up having the other fucking knee replaced. So make sure you're focusing on mobility, focus on nutrition. Just be consistent with your training. I would look more into stabilization training, look more into endurance training rather than worry about how much you're squatting due to a fucking total knee replacement. That's not the goal. You got to be careful with that shit. Considering most people are super tight around the ankles, the knees, and the hips, and everywhere else. So make sure you're adding that to your training. Next question, Daily Swole Club, Samurai. Why did you walk away from baseball? Because I was bored with it. Your drive, commitment, dedication towards fitness suggests you could have been successful just about anything you choose to pursue. Were you just not that passionate about the game, or were there other reasons? Oh, I don't even know if I ever mentioned the baseball. Yeah, I just lost interest. I got so into fitness, and I wasn't happy with the way the collegiate program was run. And to be honest, I wasn't that good anymore. I wasn't passionate enough. If you want to be great at a sport and you want to go pro or take that further, not only do you have to have like amazing natural talent, you have to have that fucking obsession to just never stop. And I didn't have that anymore. And I like to think like I was great up until college. And then I just kind of, like a lot of people, I was, one of the best players, if not the best player in my town in Little League, right? And then I played on national teams and AAU, and we won national championships in 13, 14, 15. And then once I got through high school and then college, I just didn't, I wasn't obsessed with it anymore. And also I just kind of evened out. Like my skill, once you go to college, when you're in a town, it's a smaller pool, right? It's easier to stand out. When you're in high school, it's easier to stand out. But then once you get to higher levels, everyone's good, and it just kind of really neutralized. So looking back on it, I was great. And then I just became good. I became average, but the work to put in, I just wasn't interested in. I fell in love with fitness, so completely lost interest. And I look back, I don't regret a damn thing. I don't look back and be like, oh, I miss baseball. I miss the times with my friends and stuff like that. I miss certain images, but I don't miss the game at all. Really don't. Good question though. Yeah, it's amazing how those things change. It's amazing how it could be your whole life and your identity almost. And then I was just I fell in love so much with fitness in college that just didn't even faze me. I actually was looking forward to stopping baseball because I could put all my effort into fitness. And then as you can see, that worked out in my favor, didn't it? That was pretty good. That worked out pretty well. All right, let's take some questions from, let me see Facebook, because Facebook usually doesn't show my picture to anyone. So people usually don't even get it to ask questions. Let's see if anyone got it on Facebook. Facebook fucks up my Sunday Funday Q&A. I got a few comments. Let's take some from Facebook primarily first. Any tips on making bulletproof coffee and picking the right types of fats? Google that. It explains how to make it. Any tips? You just put the ingredients in, you blend it. The MCT oil and the grass-fed butter, and you blend it. There is no picking the right types of fats. That's just how you make it. Good question. Natalie, how come I feel a bit down for a couple days after a good workout? I don't know. What do you mean a bit down? You feel you're physically tired? Are you just getting into it? What's your experience? What are you doing for training? What's your nutrition? What's your sleep? I don't know why you feel down. You should feel fucking amazing. Emily, what books do you recommend to learn more about nutrition, how your body processes food? Any of them from Functional. There's great fucking books. Plant Paradox, Grain Brain. There's tons. Wheat Belly. There's all those great, paleo books and ancestral eating books. Mark Hyman is a great proponent and the founder of, Functional Medicine. So I would just, Rhonda Patrick is amazing. Podcasts are fantastic too. So all those people that are actually on the front end of medicine. And usually what's great about the podcast and those books is usually who they reference or who they interview and who they have on the podcast. You'll learn about someone else. Oh, cool. Let me check out that person. Let me check out that book. Let me check out that. So it leads you down that rabbit hole. So those are some good options to start. But Google and Amazon are your friend. Let's see. Shannon, I love all the media content available. Will you go over what's available and what is available for us newbies? I haven't watched any podcasts. What are you asking? Oh, you're asking what's available? Everything's available. There's nothing to go over. It's just everything's fucking available. Every platform. You need a flow chart of what's available anywhere. There's YouTube. There's my website, swolenormousx.com. There's the podcast. You're going to have to put in some effort. Yeah, you're making it more complicated than it is, for sure. For sure. So your startup videos on the member website have been super helpful getting started. If you're a swolenormousx member, I haven't cross-checked your name, or I don't have your email address. If you're a member, I mean, that's where you should be focusing your attention. But in terms of everywhere else, wherever you like to consume content, Instagram, Facebook, the podcast is the best place to start. The Daily Swole is always the best place to start for the content, for the meat and potatoes. YouTube I use for just fun. YouTube's entertainment. There's definitely messages there too, but I use it for fucking fun. YouTube's a hell of a lot of fun. Sean, when doing the squat hold for mobility, how wide do you try to keep your feet? About hip to shoulder width apart, and you want to make sure your knees are over your second toe. You don't want your knees collapsing in. And if you have to elevate your heels because you're too tight around the ankles, just put a little towel or a book or a little pad under your heels so you can sit back and keep good form until you're improving flexibility and you can take it away and just decrease that heel lift. Nathan, a few days ago, I saw a fat dad buy his fat son, maybe 10 or younger, a large Slurpee. Dad bought a large soda. Will this fit with moderation? And is this also called enabling? It's called child abuse. Next question, Matthew Moore. If you can't do some of the balance exercises, do you move on or keep repeating that day until you can do it perfectly? You always want to balance, and stability comes before increasing resistance. What I see a lot of people do is, because men and women, human beings, have an ego, and more weight is more better, right? More weight, more better. So every time you increase weight, you feel like you're progressing. But when it comes to instability, you want to make sure you have control before you start increasing the difficulty. And if you're doing balance stuff, you don't increase the difficulty by adding weight. You increase the difficulty by increasing the instability. So if you're doing a single leg exercise, it doesn't get harder. The way you progress that is not to grab 30-pound dumbbells as opposed to 5. The way to make it harder is to make it more unstable, to do it on a more unstable surface, to add some other component to it. So it depends on what you're training. If you're doing a stabilization exercise, you increase the challenging nature of that exercise, the neuromuscular capacity or the overload, by increasing the instability. Okay, that's the primary focus, not the resistance. When you're doing strength training, then you're increasing the overload by adding more external force, which means weights. Trisha, do you ever get annoyed when we are chatting amongst ourselves during the Daily Swole? Like the bad kids talking in the back of class when the teacher is giving a lecture? Just curious. What do you mean, when you're messaging on the screen? Not at all. I don't get annoyed at all. I mean, I want you to communicate. When you're answering each other, I love it. Every once in a while, if I answer something, I mean, maybe you're answering, sometimes I'll mistakenly think there's a question when you're actually answering someone else's question, which is fine. That doesn't bother me at all. No, I encourage it, actually. Like, the more comments and the more discussion back and forth, it really helps, because other people ask questions in the comments that I don't see. So don't assume just because you're commenting, for the record, when you're asking questions, if I don't answer, either I am in the flow of something or I don't see it. Like, there's the fucking things, like, have you, the chat just nonstop flows, especially on Instagram. When someone signs in, it says, so-and-so joined, so-and-so joined, so-and-so joined. Like I have to scroll back and look, so I don't see half the shit. That's why I have to like look and re-find it. So no, it doesn't bother me at all. The only thing that does bother me, which no one here is guilty of, is when people troll and blast and spam the fucking comments. In which case, after the podcast, I'm usually pissed and I'll go and I'll block you. So if you don't want to get blocked, don't spam, don't flood, don't be rude. If you're rude, racist, X, Y, and Z, if Facebook doesn't grab it first, I'll grab it and I'll ban you. You know, I don't have time for that bullshit. Even especially in the messages, like I get some weird messages when people absolutely troll and just keep on. They're like repetitively rude sending messages. I'm like, can I help you? Can I help you? And if they're just stupid, I'll just fucking ban them. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. I don't have time for people's bullshit, and neither do you. So if someone else is interrupting the podcast, they're interrupting your podcast. You know what I'm saying? They interrupt your shit. So as much as it interrupts me, it interrupts your experience as well, which is unacceptable, and I don't like that. Let's see. Let's get into some of these comments here live. We're going to go into Instagram too, and we'll do a bunch of those. We got about 30 minutes, so I'm going to get off live. I'm actually listening to 846, waiting for motivation like this podcast. It helps a lot. Good, man. Enjoy the podcast. Cliff, I wish I would have found Swolenormous before now. I wouldn't be where I'm at with my weight and nutrition if I had. Don't worry about it. No regrets. You're here now. I'm just glad you all are here now. That's all good. It's all good. Heather, I absolutely love that he's on every day. I catch myself checking to make sure I didn't miss it. Thank you. Thank you. I actually do feel that's one of the biggest components or the most important components of the Daily Swole is that it's daily. And yes, I do understand that it's not necessarily at the same time every day anymore, like in the past, like way back when, but it just wasn't able to be, I wasn't able to maintain that anymore. As I got super fucking busy and as I got more and more hectic, it was less and less realistic to be on at a set time. And I just want to reiterate the reason why is because I created all of this and I started doing the podcast and I started doing all this content because I didn't want to be like, okay, I'm not trying to create a job. All right. I'm creating something that I can do dynamically as part of my life so I can reach all of you and I can do the best that I can. And I don't want anything to feel like an obligation because it's my fucking creation. So I don't want it to be an obligation or something that I'm stressing out. And if it was stressing, it started to stress me out to be live at 12 noon every day. It started to interfere with other things that I had to get done in terms of Swolenormous X content, in terms of other things. So it just wasn't realistic anymore. But, you know, in the future, if it ever is, it is. I'm usually on at a consistent time. I mean, today is a little bit later. Usually it's in the afternoon. I think we all know that. Sometimes I'll get it done early in the morning, but it's usually not late at night unless I'm traveling and I have to. You're welcome, Rosario. Thank you for being motivation to go to the gym and get fit. You got it. You got it, Beaches. I love the live. There you go. Kayla, shout out to Papa Swole for knocking some sense into me. My body fat is decreasing and I'm making gains. Kayla, you got it, girl. You got it, girl. You got it, girl. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Ape Man 99. Good fucking name. Ape Man 99. So now we're on Instagram. So first come, first serve. Let's see how many we can get through. Do you have any advice on having a healthy, whole food packed lunch? Yeah, make the food and bring it. Bring it in a cooler, put an ice pack in it. Any advice on having a healthy? Fuck yeah. Make the food that you should be eating and bring it. I mean, I like all the foods that I like. You have to do an elimination. I mean, wild game, grass-fed beef, pastured eggs, wild fish, sweet potatoes, white rice if you're not like having major issues with it. Most people do and don't realize it. Vegetables, low glycemic fruit. I mean, bring the food. I'm not a big fan of snacks. I don't think you need snacks. People, I think you should be eating and then not eating. I think you should eat and not eat. You know, especially when we're in a situation where we don't have to hunt and gather. We don't have to like scavenge and like graze all day. We don't have to. I don't think we should graze all day. I think it's a bad habit for our bodies. And especially once you start consuming, if you react well with a high fat diet, you don't have the need to eat all the time. You don't crave food all the time. John Riccardi, good question coming. What do you think about the acai bowls and the superfood fruit craze? I think it's exactly as you stated. I think all those things are crazes. I think antioxidants are great. I think micronutrients are great. I think all these drinks and shakes that claim or try to like slam every fucking nutrient known to humankind into like one drinkable shake, I think it's kind of funny. I think it's not necessarily necessary because no human through evolution has ever had every nutrient available at one time. The body is designed to create most of these benefits on its own or to get them from whole food sources. I also don't necessarily think it's bad. I think it depends on the person. And not all these things are meant to be consumed in unison, and not all of them are necessarily necessary. So I don't want to say one thing or the other because I don't fucking know everything. But I'll tell you one thing is that if you're eating quality food and you're eating quality food and protein and fat sources, a lot of this stuff you just don't simply need. But just make sure that you are testing, right? If you do an elimination and you realize, hey, I shouldn't be consuming these couple of nutrients, you're going to be more aware of that. So if you try one of these shakes, like, oh, that has, let's say you react really poorly to gluten, right? And you look at this and boom, this has gluten or oats or rice or who knows, whatever you have issues with based on your elimination diet and based on that, then you know how to make better decisions. A lot of people ask me questions similar to this, not specifically what John asked, but a lot of people ask questions based on, okay, is it good to have this? Is this good? Is X good? Is A good? Is G good? Well, have you done an elimination? Do you know what's good for you? If you know what things you react well to and what things you don't react well to, doesn't it make sense? That's easier to make these decisions. Like, oh, does this have what I don't want in it? Does it have the things that my body gets fucked up with in it? And then you make those decisions and you try it. And you're going to have a custom nutrition. That's why I want to guide people through the elimination. That's why in Swole Enormous X, we discuss these things. We share our options. We discuss any issues you might have. And it's a process. If you're not willing to go through the journey, if you're not willing to be patient and figure out what foods are best for your body, do you really want to be healthy? Do you really want what you say you do? It takes time. You can't just fucking, here's what you should do. What I should do is not necessarily what you should do. Well, the skin is a mouth. Like if you put stuff on your skin, your body absorbs it. So sometimes, a lot of times those endocrine disruptors come from lotions and colognes and stuff like that. All right, Gilbert Nick on Instagram. Are arch supports a bad thing to use? It depends on the reasoning. Most people just throw in arch supports and don't strengthen the arch of your feet. Most people, anyone shouldn't be wearing shoes. And a lot of people have flat feet and have problems because they never fucking strengthen their feet. They don't strengthen their glutes. They have poor glute activation and they have poor musculature and they have poor balance, poor alignment. And then they use arch supports, which literally just kind of act as a crutch for the foot. So you should be strengthening your arch. So I'm not here to talk about something that may or may not damage you because that's going to be a very individual thing. But I don't think people should be wearing shoes. I think your body should be providing its own arch support. Okay, what would you have done 1,000,000 years ago, or 100,000 years ago, or 100 years ago, if you need arch supports? You fucking were barefoot, and you wouldn't have the option. Your body would be strong, and most people wear shoes since they're fucking babies, so their foot never fully develops and actually develops improperly. When you put shoes on a baby, it actually forms their feet. It's like foot binding for human beings. So it's actually really bad to if you have a baby, take the fucking shoes off. Your child should never have shoes on. And that's coming again from my opinion, but it's also pretty common sense science. Like you shouldn't be fucking wearing shoes as a child when you're growing up because it forms your bones and it pushes your feet together. And it's like women's high heels are the worst fucking things on the planet. If you're a woman, you're wearing high heels, you're just destroying your posture and destroying your feet and your back and your fucking knees. It's horrific. So yeah, arch supports, in my opinion, if you had to ask yes or no, good or bad, it's fucking terrible. However, that's also individual. I'm sure there's case-by-case situations, but most people shouldn't be wearing shoes anyway. We're not meant to. Sardines and oysters for grains. For grains, you mean for gains and natty test bump. Sardines are fantastic. Oysters are great. So are anchovies. Those are great fats. Sardines are fantastic. Wild, sustainably caught sardines and those things. Muyoka on Instagram. Should your workouts be different if you're bulking compared to your workouts if you're cutting weight? And if so, please explain how. That's mostly going to come down to your nutrition, but if you're cutting weight, you have less calories, of course, and less energy, so you're probably not going to be as strong. You're going to start losing some strength, so it's probably better off to do less volume if you're cutting because you're not getting as much energy, or do more endurance type training. Depends on your goal. Very individualized question, so it's hard to answer on a blanket statement because I don't want anyone just taking some generalities and running with it. Goal pants. Sorry if this has been explained before. Probably has been, but you can ask. Is quinoa on an elimination diet okay? I would eliminate it. I would keep it out because it's a grain. I didn't see it mentioned specifically on any website. Just want to make sure I'm not going to fuck up the whole thing if I eat it. When it comes to an elimination, it comes down to the more you eliminate, the more you can test. So that's really the answer. The more you eliminate, the more you test. If you eliminate one thing, you can only test one thing, and a lot of the other things that you're eating still will probably mask the effects, and you won't be able to test it and have as good of a control. So the more you can eliminate, the more you can test. And I'm not saying that never eat quinoa. I personally don't, but I don't really care if you do. However, if you eliminate it for 8 weeks and then you test it and you fucking love it and your body feels amazing on it and everything checks out and you want to consume it, then who am I to say that you shouldn't consume it? Maybe it works great for your body. Maybe you eliminate it for that time, you try it and it fucks your world up. Aren't you glad you tested it? So it doesn't mean that you can or can't have it. It's no skin off my nose if you want to consume it. I personally don't, like I mentioned, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't or couldn't. But the more you test, the more you know, right? Good question. And that goes with anything. The more you eliminate, the more you can test. If you eliminate one thing, then you're still eating all these other things that could be interfering with you observing the effects of reintroducing that food. These questions, tighten them up by long paragraphs. I'm going to skip half of it. You preach to avoid different inflammatory foods and body sprays, cats, AZ, different body washes and chemicals. What do you think this does to your immunity? I think it fucks you up. There's a saying, when you have kids, let them go outside and put gravel in their mouths so they can build up tolerances. If you live your life in a bubble, how are you supposed to become more evolutionarily superior? Humanity, blah, blah, blah. Being exposed to germs is different than being exposed to toxic chemicals that your body has not had a chance to evolve to adapt to. So yeah, I do preach to avoid inflammatory foods because a lot of natural foods could be bad for your body. And body sprays and shit are toxic chemicals that our body has not adapted to. Your body has adapted to pathogens. Your body has adapted to dirt and the natural thing. So being outside is one thing. Being outside, rolling in pesticides and things that have erupted and exploded in the past 50 years far too fast for evolution to take place, that's a whole different story. So if you're talking about going outside and playing in the dirt and like jumping in the lake, or are you talking about spraying Axe body spray all around your chest and inhaling that all day? Two completely different things. I don't think you should live in a bubble, but I think you should also be realistic and understand that you're exposed to tons of environmental toxins now that your body is not equipped to adapt to, which is why cancer and all these things are through the roof. In maybe 1,000 years, our bodies might, we're going to be strong. I'm sure. Why not, right? If we keep exposing ourselves to all these fucking things, eventually, look, always survive. We're living through a period of survival of the fittest, right? We are living through this is literally survival of the fittest. The people that are weaker relative to all the toxins and all the garbage foods, the people that are weaker are getting diabetes. And I'm saying weaker in terms of genetically. Like, I'm not talking about a genetically superior race. I'm not a Nazi, but because of this that the food is the environment, the fallout and the toxins are part of the environment, and those people that are not equipped genetically or physically, whatever, to handle it are the ones that are going to get cancer sooner. Those are the ones that are less chance to reproduce because it's going to make them barren. They're not going to be able to have kids. This is just, we're exposing ourselves to more challenges, which is like upping the ante for natural selection. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the truth. So all these things that we're doing, like, eventually our bodies will adapt more to these toxins if they keep on exposing. Like, come on, you remember the movie, how about this? You've seen the movie Waterworld, right? Right? Waterworld, like Kevin Costner, he had gills. He had gills and shit. Like, that didn't just happen. That's because the earth was covered by water for however long that was. So people would like adapt over time. And that's exactly the same thing. So if we keep on exposing ourselves to all these things constantly, eventually you're going to have people that aren't going to react the same way. You're going to have people or human bodies that won't get diabetes or be highly resistant to cancers because it's just genetic. That's literally what it is. And it's not saying one thing. When I say weak, just because you have a cancer or disease, I'm not saying you're weak, but literally what I'm telling you is that's just the truth. We're just in this period where there's such a sudden change of our environment in the last 100 years, and that's not enough time for the body. That's one generation, pretty much. That's not enough time for the body to evolve. You know, in terms of one generation, like people are alive that were born. People are alive still that were born like in the early 1900s. Like they're dying out. So it's like 1 or 2, 3 generations, right? So think about it. Pete B03, got a time for a couple more. Social media influencers can be pushed to promote products and services that may go against their moral compass because like everyone else have to earn a living. Not sure how many followers you need before companies offer you sponsorship, money, etc. But have you been approached by people to push products that go against your objectives? I've been approached. I've been approached to have people on my podcast that, that are going to talk about products. I've had people, message me saying like, maybe we can do business or this and for apparel and all these things. Yeah. I just don't want to promote anything. I mean, if I promote, I have my own shit. I have my own shit to promote. So if anyone's approaching me or offering something, like I'll sample your stuff. And if I like it, I might talk about it, but I'm not planning at least anytime soon, unless I really, really love something. I have some videos and like some driving while gainings coming out because there are some influencers or people, quote influencers, that have tons of followers that every time I see a fucking ad, this person's in it. Like they just fucking do every sponsorship. In my opinion, you're like losing part of your soul. And I know professional athletes have that kind of stuff too. And they have a lot of these endorsements, but I think anytime you sponsor and you promote someone else, it takes away from your shit. I think it takes away from your shit. I think every time, and I think on the surface, it seems like no one notices, but in reality, the audience notices. Look, like you notice, you're asking me this question, Pete. Like if I started promoting, why do you think I created the Daily Swole Club? Let's talk about this for a second because it's important. I created the Daily Swole Club because not only do I want to keep the podcast ad free, and yeah, I know my YouTube videos, there are ads and pre-roll stuff. Like, I mean, I monetize. I mean, trust me, fam, like most of the shit doesn't get fucking monetized anyway. The driving while gainings, those don't run a lot of ads. Let me put it that way. Those don't really get monetized, but I'm not doing YouTube content for monetization. That's why my stuff is a lot more raw and I guess vulgar, because most people make YouTube videos and they try to be nice. They bleep out the swears because they want to get monetized. I don't give a fuck. That's not where I'm making my money. That's not where this business is growing. I like it for the attention and because it's fun. It's entertainment and you like it more too. So I don't do YouTube to be a pussy. I do YouTube to make the content that I want to make. And like I said, if YouTube doesn't like it and they kick me off, I would just make it elsewhere. So that doesn't matter. When it comes to running ads and shit or sponsorships, the reason why I haven't accepted any ads and sponsorships on the Daily Swole is because I don't want to talk about shit that I don't care. I don't care about what you're trying to sell. That's great. But I don't want to fill your ear holes, because anytime I would promote something, let's say for the podcast, and I would run an ad or a mid-roll ad or a pre-roll ad, all that does is it affects the bond between you and me. Because then you don't know necessarily what I'm being authentic about and what I'm not being authentic about. Because if I'm talking positively and promoting someone else's product, whatever it is, whether it's a mattress, a toothbrush, or it's a pair of shoes, then you don't know anything else if I'm saying it, if it's authentic, because maybe there's some agenda behind it. Maybe I'm promoting a product. If I could BS and make it seem like this product is great for an ad, then what does my excitement about something else mean? Like where are the strings attached to something else? If I want to talk about something, I'll talk about something. Like if I try something that I like and I'll share it with you, that's because I like it and I'll share it with you. And then I don't have to get paid for it. If the company wants to send me something like, hey, you shouted this out and our sales went up, like that's awesome here. And I'll be like, oh, cool, thanks. I don't think that's a problem, but I'm not doing it based on what someone else is monetary value. So that's why, even to be honest, that's why I started the Daily Swole Club, is because I didn't even want it to be through Patreon. People asked me about a Patreon account. They kept on asking me. That's why I created the Daily Swole Club. It's because people kept on asking about Patreon. Hey, you're going to have a Patreon account to support? Like, I'd love to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. But I don't want to do it through Patreon because I don't want Patreon to have control over my shit. So I started through my site, and now I have it. You can support and donate in the Daily Swole Club through swolenormousx.com. So that's why I did it. I don't want to be answering to anyone. If you want to support the show, that's fine. If you don't, that's also fine. right? It supports the YouTube content, all that stuff. I just didn't want it to be something that's through another party. So I don't like being dependent on any platform or any person. That's another reason why I do stuff on every single platform, is because I don't depend on YouTube. I don't depend on Instagram. I don't depend on Facebook. I got my own shit going on. So whatever they do, whatever algorithms they change, I'll adapt and I'll move. Like I don't have any kind of need for any one of those single platforms. So that whole sponsorship thing, yeah. I don't think those influencers are making good long-term decisions. They're making decisions for the short term. They're making decisions for, hey, if I talk about this product, I'll get paid $1,000 for this post. Really easy. However, people see that, they know that, and it takes away from their credibility. And of course, their journey is their journey as an influencer or whatever they're trying to do. I can't speak for them per se. I can criticize them. I can have my own opinion on it. However, my journey is mine. So I am not doing this for the short term. I'm not doing this for a short-term kickback. I'm not doing this for, I'll make a couple $100 on this ad. That's not worth it to me. You know, the integrity of the show and what I'm trying to do is a lot more valuable than a sponsorship or an ad in the short term. So good question and a long-winded answer, but I have a lot to say about that, which is pretty much the foundation of what I'm doing on every platform. Like you only Whittier. Not really. We know there's a ton of shady brands in the fitness industry. What are some that you personally support and believe they're doing a good job promoting quality products and or humans? I don't know. I don't personally support any of them. I can't think of any brands off the top of my head that I personally support. So good question, but no idea. I focus on my own shit. Again, this kind of, that was actually ironically like similar to last question. So I don't look at other people's shit. I know there's a lot of brands, but there's none out there that I'm like, yeah, go do it. K Dickey, just a hello from Norway. My boyfriend, I love your stuff and listen to your podcast, and you're the first fitness professional he agrees with. Well, welcome from Norway. Love it. I think someone else said they were listening from Sweden. Love it. Love it. Just humming. Was there a specific moment in your life that made all the pieces just fall into place and you realize, this is my purpose, passion, I'm going to spread my message of health? A specific moment, yes and no. I mean, I guess my grandfather passing in some way. But at the same time, nothing ever just falls into place, like without a shitload of action. So there's no, if you're waiting for pieces to fall into place, you're never going to get shit done. The Bearded Bastard of Texas. What is your favorite occasional cigar? I love cigars. I'm just not a connoisseur, so I don't even know. I wouldn't even know a brand if you asked me. But I don't know. I like cigars. Hey, if you own a cigar shop or you want to send me a box of cigars, if you want to promote your brand, no guarantee that I'll promote it, but I'm totally open for that. I don't have a favorite cigar. Good question, though. I also have a very interesting memory in the sense that I'm very selective. Like if I like something, but I won't cement that into my brain to remember unless it's like repetitive. So I really but then I'll remember a movie quote like instantly off the top of my head in the middle of a joke, and I'll be able to like bring it up. So I have a memory in a different way. Your stand on tracking macros? I don't. I eat a high-fat diet, but I certainly don't track my macros at this point in my career. What's your opinion on intermittent fasting? Not eating is good. Be Fit with Carrie. Question 1. What do you think about water kefir? Water kefir? I've actually never heard of it. Question 2. What do you think about oxalates in food? I don't think much about it. I haven't done too much research. What do you mean, like in sweet potatoes or something? I don't really know much about it. I've heard the term before. Question 3. Great answers, right? Question 3. What is some of the biggest... I mean, in terms of food, I would just recommend eating ancestrally real food. You're much better off. People can survive for years and decades on crystal meth and shit. Like if you're eating whole foods and real food, you're better off than 99.9% of the people in the world, especially this country. Question 3, what is some of the biggest advice you can give to someone who is starting a business? Be authentic, create something around what you're passionate about and what you could be consistent with, and go deep, depth, not width. Like start creating a lot of quality content to help other people. Grow people if you want a long-lasting business. And that's coming from someone who is a few years into this business. So, that's just my opinion, of course. And to start, and don't be afraid to try new things. I mean, the biggest advice to give someone to starting a business is to fucking make sure you know where the world's going. Like, really plug in and learn everything you can. I guess another piece of advice would be to do everything yourself for a long time. You're going to have to fucking work your ass off. You're going to be up super fucking late, all-nighters. Like, do it all yourself. Anything you want to hire someone else for, do it yourself first. Make sure you're competent and you're able to do it yourself, because then you'll know who to bring on. You'll know when someone is doing something well. Make sure you do it yourself first, so then you know who and what you need in terms of your weak points. Mimsy D, stay gorgeous. Have you ever thought about making a cookbook? No, we have a lot of recipes in Swolenormous X, but a cookbook, not really, because I eat the same fucking things regularly. So recipes, cookbook, same thing. But I provide that in Swolenormous X, and I'm actually expanding it dramatically. But making a cookbook, maybe. It doesn't really stimulate any real excitement for me, but it's possible. Rosa Fernandez, what do you think about the collagen protein shakes? I think they could be beneficial. I've gotten a bunch of samples and stuff that I kind of liked from the vital proteins, from like the collagen peptides and stuff. I put it in my coffee when I blend it, if I make bulletproof coffee. So, but I mean, I don't know what you mean by collagen protein shakes. Collagen protein or the shakes, like, is there other stuff in it? I don't like fillers and stuff, so it's got to be pure. It's got to be pure. But I drink a ton of bone broth too, so I get a lot of that stuff. Anyway. You ever give proceeds to police charities with the t-shirt sales? I might. Like, I do military and law enforcement discounts for Swolenormous X members and stuff. So if you're a veteran or active military, you're in law enforcement, I do discounts there. So, usually through that third party that I use for t-shirts, if I do proceeds and stuff like that, I choose a charity. So it's usually something military veteran, like the Wounded Warrior, like I did the other day, muscular dystrophy, things of that nature. Do you eat your sweet potatoes with or without the peel? Skin. Yes, always. Why? Nutrients. How big a caloric deficit would you recommend per day for a healthy weight loss journey? Thanks, love your content. Depends on the person. First off, it's more important what you're eating rather than first, you need to make sure you're eating the right foods rather than just worrying about the number. When you're eating the right foods, usually you only need about 500 to 1,000 calories deficit for consistent weight loss, but I would focus on doing an elimination and eliminating inflammatory foods and focusing on that shit first. A couple more questions. Yoga better before or after a pump session? Does it matter? Yes and no. I would recommend doing it after. I think that'd be more satisfying to relax the body rather than, a little yoga before, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes to get mobilized, but afterwards great for inhibiting and healing the body after a workout. Kathy, not Kathy. Katie, not Kathy. Dang it. Okay. Having a problem with people pronouncing your name. I'm considering getting certified in fitness and nutrition, mainly for myself, but I want to help other people. Well, if you're getting certified, it's to help other people. It's not for yourself. I'm not sure what you mean by that. The last few years I've been studying nutrition, so sometimes people ask me questions. But when I mention something that they don't want to do to see results, I get shut down. They either give up or plateau. Does something like that happen a lot even when you're certified? Fuck yes. Getting a certification is not going to make someone do something. Or are people more open to hear the facts advice because of the certification? No, it doesn't matter. People don't listen to shit. People don't fucking care. When's the last... Okay, when you're certified, I'll tell you what, when you go in the field... For when I was like in the field for like 10, 15, whatever fucking years, I think I was asked about like my qualifications like twice, 3 times. And they're usually from gyms if I was working at one or on my resume. People don't give a fuck. People don't give a shit about certifications. Don't really mean shit. I've held so many certifications that I've actually let expire because all it is a money pit. Once you get that initial knowledge, especially with the internet, all those CEUs, those continuing education units, it's just you paying them money. So you can say, oh, this person thinks I'm okay. This company thinks I'm certified. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a money pit. You go to these conferences, you go to these fucking things, and sure, you can network and meet other people potentially, but with the internet, you can learn everything you need to know on your own. So you don't need any fancy certification. It really comes down to how obsessed and how passionate are you about your craft, and you can research and learn all this stuff on your own. It's great to have a foundation, but you don't need anything massively fancy. And all the CEUs, all this is, it's just giving them more money. It's just giving them more money. That's really what it is. What do you do for active recovery, walk, run, yoga? All right, let's see. One more. Iron. Let's talk conventional deadlift versus sumo deadlift. Conventional deadlift is more stress on your lower back. Which one is more beneficial for you overall? I would practice both if you want to. Why do I see a rise in popularity in the sumo deadlift? Because it's easier. People can lift more. So that's why people do it. People can lift a lot fucking more doing a sumo deadlift than they can with a conventional. And also, using a hex bar, doing sumo, a lot of times you'll start from a more advantageous potentially position with your lower back. Sometimes you're not lifting it as far of a distance when you're doing a sumo. So I always thought of it as a sissy version of a deadlift. So have I. I've always looked at that as not really, the real deadlift, because people that lift, I do 5 plates on a sumo, they can't do fucking 3 with a conventional most often. I mean, look, and I'm not saying that everyone that does it doesn't or can't do a conventional, but the way people's mobility is, usually they're able to do a sumo better because they don't have the hip or the ankle mobility. But conventionally, you have to be careful. Conventional is a lot more, I guess, potentially risk of your lower back, but people do sumo and girls do sumo because you don't have to lift the bar as far, the distance is shorter, and honestly, it's just fucking easier. Of course, if you have the mobility, some people don't have that kind of external rotation in the hips. What's more important, to hit your macros or your calories for the day? It's more important to eat the right fucking food, so neither of those. Number one. Now, I'm not saying that your calorie count isn't important, but primarily eating the right foods is number one. All right, that's it for right now. We got a bunch more questions, not gonna be able to finish all of them. So thank you everyone for joining me. Great questions. If your question didn't get answered, you absolutely can save it for next week, and maybe I'll answer it in some other kind of video or content coming up, just because there's not gonna be able to answer to all the questions. So remember, those of you that are members of the Daily Swole Club, you get priority questions every week. So if you're interested in joining the Daily Swole Club, if you're interested in joining to be a full member of Swolenormous X, if you're interested in subscribing to the podcast, if you're interested in the blog, apparel, all those things, you can check it out, swolenormousx.com. Thank you so much for the questions. Great questions every single week. And like I mentioned, we're not going to be able to answer every single one of them all the time. So I apologize if I didn't get to your questions, but make sure that you turn on post notifications. And you could do so with the 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner of my Instagram profile, because then you will get notified whenever I post, and you'll be notified right away. And the sooner you post on those pictures, first come, first served, as well as, live, I'll try to get those as much as possible. Anyway, the podcast available everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. You can go to swolenormousx.com and click on podcasts in the top right-hand corner. And I will see everyone tomorrow for episode 1032 of the Most Muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleazecast, and Slaycast in Zarel. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow. Peace, Magoose fam. Deuce Magoose, your boy Papa Swolio. Out.